Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back here with another video, and I have to ask, how many enemies can a Bandicoot make? Anyway, today I thought I'd do a countdown. Basically, I'm doing a top 10 list of my top 10 Crash Bandicoot villains list. So I'm going through the Orange Marsupial's Rogues Gallery of villains, and Crash does have a unique Rogues Gallery in that regard. So, with that being said, this is top 10 Crash Bandicoot villains. Number 10 is Rocco, Wawa, Pyro, and Lolo, the Elementals from Wrath of Cortex. Now, these guys only appeared in one game. Rocco, Wawa, Lolo, and Pyro are the embodiments of earth, water, fire, and air. 4 destructive masks released by Uka Uka and Dr. Cortex to kill Crash Bandicoot in the Wrath of Cortex. These 4 destructive masks basically lend their power to Crunch in various boss fights throughout the game. You have boss fights against Earth Crunch, Fire Crunch, Water Crunch, and Air Crunch. Now, I do like the casting for all 4 of these elemental masks. Rocco is voiced by Tom Wilson. Basically, Biff from Back to the Future. Jesse Harnell, the voice of Wacko from Animaniacs, lends his voice to Lolo, the air elemental. Pyro, the fire elemental, and definitely my favorite of the 3, or of the 4. My favorite of the 4. He is voiced by Mark Hamill. And anytime I hear a Mark Hamill voiceover, I gotta say it's my favorite. But also, you got Wawa, voiced by the late Arlie Emmy. And it sucks that he's no longer with us, but I gotta say he does a damn good job as the water elemental. Anyway, even though they only appeared in one game, they are just so awesome. And I really wish someday we might see them again. But given how dangerous the elementals are, I highly doubt that. At number 9 is the Komodo brothers. These two Komodo dragons were mutated by the Evolvo Ray, just like Crash and various other characters. They are sword-wielding Komodo dragons that were sent by Embryo to make sure Crash does not collect crystals for Cortex. And despite appearing in... The only other game these guys appeared in was Crash Bash. Even though the Komodo brothers didn't make as many appearances, I still like them for their concept. They're sword-wielding Komodo dragons, and their boss fight in Crash Bandicoot 2 was a lot of fun. I mean, I definitely enjoyed facing them in the remastered Insane Trilogy. Number 8 is Dr. Nitrous Brio, or Embryo for short. Brio was originally Cortex's assistant and helped build the and was the one who built the Evolvo Ray. And Cortex kind of took all the credit. In the first game, he basically worked with Cortex, trying to take out Crash. Being a scientist who always drinks chemicals and turns himself into a hulking monster. In the second game, he basically is trying to stop Cortex and wants you to gather gems. But he basically gives this ultimatum to Crash. As long as you're allied with Cortex, you are an enemy as well, and I will send people to stop you from gathering crystals. Yeah, basically telling Crash that if, as long as he's allied with Cortex, he basically would send forces to stop Crash from gathering crystals. But Embryo may have appeared in Embryo has definitely appeared as a force to be reckoned with throughout the series. But I'm spending too much time on this next entry. But anyway, number 7 is Ripperoo, a kangaroo evolved by the Evolvo Ray. This psychotic blue kangaroo has a very explosive tendency, meaning that his boss fights in the first 2 games mainly had to deal with him getting blown up. But I can never forget how psychotic this kangaroo can be. Number 6 is Tiny the Tiger, or is Tiny Tiger. Tiny is a Tasmanian tiger evolved by the Evolvo Ray, who possesses incredible strength, but he's also incredibly stupid. Yeah, Tiny is very, very, very stupid. In his boss battles throughout the series, he's been trying to squash Crash or try to devour him. But Crash always finds a way to beat him. So, there's that for Tiny. Number 5 is Dingodile. Okay, I gotta say this. I love Dingodile. He is a hybrid of a dingo dog and a crocodile merged together. I mean, what's there to be said? A dingo and a crocodile merged together? Now that's awesome. And his weapon of choice is a flamethrower. Dingo throughout the series has battled Crash with his trusty flamethrower. But he's also gone on to be an ally of Crash if you've played the new game. But otherwise, Dingodile, when he first started off, he tried to roast a penguin alive. But I never could forget those words he says before his boss fight. Break out the butter. I'm gonna make toast. Number 4 is Dr. Nefarious Trophy, or Entropy. Nefarious Trophy, or Entropy for short, was the one who created the Time Twister machine in Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. And since then, he's gone on to be a reoccurring villain throughout the series. Using his power of time twisting, Entropy has become a formidable foe that should not be underestimated. And I just love how his blue face kind of reminds me of an evil version of the genie from Aladdin. It's like even though he basically, it's like he's kind of an evil version of the genie from Aladdin, but except he's more time themed. But still, I love Entropy. He is definitely an enjoyable villain. Number 3 is Dr. Engine, or Engine. I'm gonna say it. I like Engine, and I liked the 2 bosses of the boss battles against him in the Insane Trilogy, or in Crash Bandicoot 2 and Crash Bandicoot 3. Most of his battles include him piloting a giant robot. The one distinct feature Engine always had was the missile in his head. Yes, this guy has a missile in his head as a part of his head. I mean, how is that not cool? Anyway, Engine always battled you in giant robots. throughout the series. Like, name one engine boss fight that didn't involve him having a giant robot to fight Crash. Anyway, number 2 is Uka Uka. Now, okay, I gotta say this. Uka Uka made his debut in Crash Bandicoot 3, and he revealed that he was behind everything the entire time. That he basically had been guiding Cortex through the shadows. But because of Cortex's bumbling set him free, Uka Uka was free to rain chaos upon the earth, yet again. And also, what makes this villain so personal is that he is also the brother of Aku Aku. Crash is basically the good guy mask that basically accompanies Crash and Coco. While Uka Uka is the embodiment, or while Aku Aku is the embodiment of good, Uka Uka, his brother, is the embodiment of evil. And originally, he was voiced by Clancy Brown, until in the Insane trilogy, John DiMaggio took over the role. Either way, no offense to John DiMaggio, but I really miss Clancy Brown's performance. He definitely was the definitive Aku Aku, or was the definitive Uka Uka. And number 1, we all knew this guy was going to be number 1, Dr. Cortex, or Dr. Neo Cortex. Ever since the first Crash Bandicoot game, he has been Crash's arch nemesis. This scientist with an N on his forehead has been trying to take over the world various times, and has also tried to destroy Crash more than once throughout the series. So, yeah, there's that. Cortex is very kooky, and he's also very threatening at the same time. Either way you slice it, Cortex is just determined to see Crash dead, and has gone on to be a constant thorn in the Bandicoot's side. And the same can be said for the Bandicoot being a thorn in Cortex's side. I mean, after all, Crash has definitely... I mean, Cortex did create his own arch nemesis, after all. I mean, that's what makes their relationship so well done. I mean, Cortex ended up creating his own worst enemy. Anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I'll see you Crash fans later. Anyway, Crash out.